This is the reality, and it was not something to be romanticized. It was a really, really tough, backbreaking work. Pearl divers risked their lives.
Hi, I'm Sarah Forster, Deputy News Editor at The National, and welcome to this week's edition of A Closer Look. Now today we are talking about one of the many things that the UAE is known for, and that is pearls and the pearling industry. Some of the most beautiful pearls in the whole world come from this region of the globe. Now there has been an important discovery in that sector this week, and we are going to talk more about that with our reporter John Dennehy. Thank you for coming in, John. So first of all, let's just get straight to it. What was the discovery?
So what's been found on Al Island in Umm Al Quwain is the oldest pearling village to be found in the Arabian Gulf. It's about 1,300 years old. And to get a sense of how it would have been at its peak, you're talking hundreds of homes, thousands of people, and a town that's completely absorbed in the pearling industry. Archaeologists on Monday at the site described it as kind of similar to maybe the Welsh coal mining towns of the valleys or Detroit's auto industry at its peak, and essentially the spiritual ancestor of places like Dubai and Muharraq in Bahrain. And also there's an extra bit to say is that it's discovered also next to a monastery that was discovered last year. So when you put the two together, it's a very major, significant, substantial discovery.
Now, I know that round here, we like titles, right? The fastest, the tallest, Now this is the oldest and the first in the Gulf, right? Tell me more about how do we know that?
It's a good point. It's the first to have been properly identified, excavated, and now going for further study. Now there are older pearling towns that we know of from historical sources that have been in the Gulf, but this is the first to be really properly studied and excavated.
So what else was this town known for? Was it just pearls, 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 or was there something else like keeping the people earning money and stuff, or what else was going on in Al Island?
Well, the primary reason was the pearl trade. This was a town, like I said, that was completely absorbed by the pearl trade. In terms of what else was going on there, archaeologists have found pottery, they've found coins, they've found ceramics. About 12% of those they've sourced to India, and they've also found some from Iraq and Iran. So obviously trade was very, very important. This town is very much plugged into trading links across the Gulf and the world even. Also, fishing is obviously really, really important. They found lots of evidence to say people were fishing quite in a major way there as well. So those two things, but the pearl trade was the main reason for its existence.
So what we're saying is that this is the oldest pearling town that has been physically excavated, right? Like there are like mentions of older ones in journals and written down, but this is the oldest one that we've actually seen with our own eyes, is what you're saying.
Yes, it's the first to be identified, excavated, and studied in a major way. Now, we know from historical sources that there were other pearling towns that are older in the Gulf. Also, if you look at places like Dubai and Muharraq in Bahrain, there's been development there. So, but this is the first time that we have a site that we've been able to identify and see as a pearling village and date to this period. We visited the site on Monday, and you get a boat from Umm Al Quwain, you drive across rotted sand tracks, there's gazelles running around. It seems incredibly isolated, but for the people who lived here then, it was actually a really, really central location for many reasons. One, it was close to the pearl beds. Two, it's a natural harbour. Three, it's next to the mangrove, so a good place to catch your dinner. And fourth, there was also springs of natural water. So it is actually really, really central. And in terms of why it's important because we've all, as you said in your intro, we've all seen those shots of the pearl divers. We've all read about that in tourist brochures, but this is the reality. And it was not something to be romanticized. It was a really, really tough, backbreaking work. Pearl divers risked their lives to get these pearls that were so prized. So it sheds light on that trade, and it sheds light on the culture, and it really tells us a lot of stories about the people who lived here then.
Is there something, there was a bit in your article about the pearl diver's weight. What did that have to do with doing the job?
So they found some very interesting things there, and the pearl diver's weight is one of them. It's essentially a big piece of stone, and a pearl diver would have attached or held onto this, and that would have allowed him to dive down to the bottom of the sea in a very fast way. So that was that. They also found basically thousands and thousands of empty discarded pearl shells, if not more. So that is almost the industrial waste of the pearl trade. The archaeologist on Monday, Professor Tim Power, gave an example. You would have to open about 10,000 pearls to find one gemstone.
Wow.
So if you consider that the village was thriving for about 200 years, or the town was thriving for about 200 years, you're talking millions of shells. So, and you can feel those when you're walking on the sand. You can see this and you can feel that when you walk.
Incredible. Real life history. So, well, thank you so much. If you'd like to read more about John's story, of course, it's on thenationalnews.com on our website. Thank you so much for coming in, John. So that's it for this week's episode of A Closer Look from right here in the National's newsroom. Don't forget, if you'd like to catch any of our previous episodes, they are all on our YouTube channel. And if you've got any suggestions for a future episode, you can always pop your comments in the box underneath.